Alright, filming this video back to back with my last 10 years later video. Whenever I do back to back videos, or more than one video in a day, I tend to lose my voice and my throat starts to hurt. So praying that doesn't happen here. Anyway, Little Mix is back with their 6th studio album, Confetti. Little Mix is a British girl group who many of you may already know. They won the UK edition of the X Factor back in 2011 and have probably been one of the most successful acts to emerge from the show. They've released a number of studio albums that have charted very well in the UK, and they have had at least a bit of crossover appeal here in the US, notably with their debut album DNA, which charted in the top 5 of the Billboard 200, the first album from a girl group to do so since the Pussycat Dolls. As I said, this is their 6th studio album and their first with RCA Records after departing from Simon Cowell's now defunct label Syco Music in 2018. It also continues a big tradition for the group. Every previous album was released in the month of November, and in classic Little Mix fashion, here we are in November and the new album's out, specifically on the 5-year anniversary of their 3rd studio album, Get Weird. Now, while I'm not the most gigantic follower of Little Mix, I did review their last album, LM5, on my blog, as per request from a friend of mine, and I did enjoy it quite a bit, so I was interested in seeing where these girls would go next. This album is 13 tracks and 40 minutes, not too far off from the length of the standard edition of LM5, though it surprisingly has no features or explicit tracks, which is a bit of a change from the last album. In the end, though, those changes are negligible and didn't affect my thoughts on this project because I honestly really enjoyed it. The album is front-loaded with its 3 singles, which was a bit of a worry sign for me going into it. Seeing the 3 singles right at the front made me a bit scared that those were going to be the best songs and that everything else was just going to be not as good. Fortunately, the singles are pretty good. The opening track, Breakup Song, took a bit to grow on me, but I do enjoy it. It's a rather busy electropop song, but it has a really catchy chorus, and I like all the clever twists and turns that it takes to keep itself interesting. Holiday is a much more funky song with a super groovy bass line, and this track also has a really punchy, memorable hook as well. It does work in some established pop formula, but it's so clever and fun that it overcomes its familiarity to be a great track. And Sweet Melody is a much darker song with an 808 beat and a more danceable feel. A part of me kind of wishes the chorus exploded a bit more on this one than it actually did, but I do think the girls sound great here, and the track is so stupidly catchy that I can't stop listening to it. And the front loading of singles didn't end up being a problem because beyond those singles, the album is filled with high points. The title track, Confetti, is another somewhat dark song, and the production on this one bangs. I love the somewhat haunting keys, and the way the beat drops on the hook is really cool too. There's a lot of elements that make the instrumental so clever, and the sexy vibe of the production and the vocals makes this a huge high point. I could definitely see why they named the album after this song. Pretty excellent stuff. Nothing But My Feelings is a somewhat more emotional sounding track that focuses on just wanting to have sex, which the group wanted to do because even though there are a lot of songs these days that talk about booty calls from the male perspective, you don't hear it as much from the female perspective. I actually really love the song. The bouncy keys mix well with some of the emotional vibes of the instrumental. The girls sound excellent on top of it, and the chorus is pretty fantastic. Gloves Up is a track the group describes as being a bit of a throwback to their older material. It's a powerful, anthemic kind of song with a more dark vibe. It does kind of have that sports compilation or ESPN commercial kind of vibe to it, and sometimes I'm not crazy about those kind of tracks, but what lifts this one a bit for me is the strength and charisma of the vocals. The girls sound great and make the song work even if it could have ended up being really generic. A Mess, Happy For You is a post-breakup jam about seeing your ex with someone else and trying to be happy about it even if it really hurts. I like a lot of the synth instrumentals, and while most of the song is really light, I like how it tastefully transitions into being a bit more booming. I think the sentiment of the song is really nice too, and some of the more broken vocals at portions of the song add to the happy, sad feel of it. My Love Won't Let You Down is the rare example of a ballad on this album, and Little Mix is honestly perfect for a track like this. They're such talented, beautiful vocalists that a light piano-driven ballad is right in their wheelhouse, and this track proves that. The girls sound wonderful, and it is an emotional turn that works out excellently. Rendezvous is a much darker, trap-driven banger with a very sexual feel to it. The trap vibe might seem a bit standard, but there are some good things going on here. Most notably, I love the interpolation of Michael Bublé's Sway on the chorus. I would have never imagined that song being used in this way, but it's pretty enjoyable stuff. And If You Want My Love is another mix of synth pop and trap sounds, and it's a bit of a surprise for me. It's another song that mixes between being light and pounding, especially on the chorus where there are these major hard drum hits. It's a well-crafted track from start to finish, and it's a very impressive showcase of the vocal chops that have made Little Mix so compelling up to this point. I do have a few tracks that I'm not as crazy about. For example, Happiness, which is a more pop-influenced track with some empowering lyrics about self-love and finding your own happiness. I do think the vocals are definitely solid, but my biggest problem is just how over the top the instrumental gets on the hook. The production just feels a little bit too bombastic for my liking, and it kind of brings the song down a bit for me. And Not a Pop Song is a track that tries to hit back at the stigma of the group only making bubblegum pop music, and it also seems to take some shots at Syco Music and Simon Cowell as well, since the girls have had some beef with Simon about the way he treated them while they were under the label. I do like the writing on the song, and I think there is a kind of nice irony to saying that a song is not a pop song but still making it somewhat poppy, but I do think it's a little less catchy than some of the better songs the girls have done. They still sound awesome, but I think the chorus just isn't as sticky as some of the better songs on this record. Fortunately, those tracks don't detract much from my enjoyment of this album, and the closing track, Wreath, tops the record off nicely. It's another post-breakup song that feels like a somewhat R&B influenced ballad. The girls have mentioned that the song was very much inspired by No Air by Jordan Sparks and Chris Brown, and it does feel reminiscent of that, but it's a smooth track, and the girls show once again that vocally they are more than game to handle an R&B flavored track such as this. Overall, I really love this new Little Mix album. I know some people might not, but I think Little Mix continues to impress me with their knack for catchy, enjoyable hits. Where LM5 was very much an album centered around female empowerment, this record is a lot more loose and not really centered around one particular theme. This is the girls just making music that feels fun to them and making music that they'll like. Even without a big central theme though, it's a very cohesive listen that handles a few different styles and fuses a few different genres, but does them very well. Even if it's a poppy record, it still comes through with enjoyable, memorable production. And as you would expect, these girls absolutely kill it vocally. Even the few tracks I'm not as crazy about don't dull the album, and it's a very fun listen from start to finish. Maybe I might be in the minority with how much I enjoyed this thing, but regardless, Little Mix did a fantastic job with their new project, and I hope their fans love it as much as I do. Overall, I'm honestly gonna say that Little Mix's new album, Confetti, is gonna get an excellent rating from me. Again, maybe that's just me, but all in all, I had a really good time with this album. I think Little Mix did a wonderful job with it, and I hope with this record that they continue to see a lot of success. But that's just my opinion on this album. What did you guys think about it? Did you love it as much as I did? Did you hate it way more than I did? Are you pretty much indifferent towards it? And for all of you out there that are more into Little Mix's music than I am, what is your favorite Little Mix album? And where would this rank on your list of Little Mix albums if you had to rank them from best to worst? Whatever your thoughts are, leave them down in the comments section. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe, thank you. If not, it's no big deal. I totally understand. And in terms of what's next, I think there are a few new albums coming out in November that I want to listen to and I want to review. Looking at this list, it seems like BTS is coming out with a new album in a few weeks, and if that is true, then I will probably give that a look. Of course, I will be busy this month with 10 Years Later videos, as I already have been, but again, I will obviously review new albums as they come out this month, so stay tuned for those. But until next time, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.